One final question on this, Larry, is I think you mentioned the other day you're looking at paying U.S. companies to relocate their supply chains to the U.S. What kind of financial incentive are we talking about?
Well, I think that's an important point because I think a lot of these firms realize they've been too dependent on China or any single country, or perhaps these complex supply chains just don't work the way they thought they worked 10 or 20 years ago when it was all the rage. Now, insofar as helping companies move, we are looking at 100% expensing for all equipment, structures, and related matters. That law, which was put in place in 2017, phases out in 2022. We do not want to phase out. We want to strengthen 100% expensing. Also, for various moving expenses related to a shift back to the U.S., we have a number of areas. The old OPEC DFS, or DFC rather, may be quite helpful. Even the XM Bank may be quite helpful in bringing them back home. We encourage people to take a hard look and come back to America. I think folks have learned. You operate in China like this, it is not reliable. It is simply not reliable. So they're taking a whole new look at it, and we will do whatever we can to aid the move back to America.
Interesting. That kind of goes back to the state of the economy in the months ahead and possibly years. What are the current plans? I forget what phase we're in now, 4 or 5 or 4.5. I mean, yes. There's state and local government aid that clearly needs to be doled out. There's, I'm not even sure the Fed's Main Street program has lent out any funds yet. So, again, that's potentially a $6 trillion program to the economy, but not really doing much right now. So what's in your mind? What more is needed here? And who is it going to be directed at?
Well, I think, look, just to back up, I think the PPP worked very, very well. There are always little glitches here and there, and there may be some slight technical changes in legislation, but I think it worked very, very well. As far as the Fed is concerned, I think they've done a terrific job. You're right. They have more ammunition. They got more bullets. So does the Treasury, for that matter. And that's very important to stand by. Some of this is very uncertain. Everyone has to acknowledge that. So it's out there. Now, as far as 4.5 or Phase 5 or whatever it's called, we're looking at a lot of options. Again, perhaps rewarding people to go back to work. The president is very keen on a payroll tax holiday for the workforce, which would give them a net increase in their take-home pay of about 7.6%. That's a big deal. We may provide something of a bonus to forego unemployment and go back into the labor force. We're looking at deductions for restaurants, deductions for tourism, which has taken a tremendous hit. Tourism and hospitality may be the single worst area, maybe air travel as well. A whole panoply of issues. We're looking at the possibility of a capital gains tax where if you invest in any asset, not just the stock market, but any asset at all, you will be excluded from capital gains if you do it before the end of the year. So there are a number of options here. We're working on it virtually every day and meeting with the president.
Well, you think we're going to be back to the 100% of economy, in terms of levels, Larry? Because it's, we might be coming back quicker than expected, but we can't stay down, minus 10. That would be a travesty.
Well, I think that from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, and elsewhere, Kevin Hass and I both agree we're going to have tremendous growth in the second half, probably around 20%. Maybe the strongest quarter in history, taking GDP stats. And we're also going to roll into 2021. CBO is at 4.1% for the year. Those are really strong numbers. And we started out with a solid economy. You and I have talked about this. Lower taxes and regulations and better trade deals. And by the way, don't forget USMCA. That's going to be a stimulant once we get back to something closer to normalcy. I'm very optimistic that we'll get through this. I'm very optimistic that we've made great strides on public health safety, and I think this is all going to pay off. The president has put together a tremendous package. He rebuilt the economy once. Those pillars are still there, and he'll stay on the supply side and market-oriented economies and assistance plans for individuals to help some of the hardships. So I think we can roll into 2021 and have a spectacular year also. All right.